Our chosen site is Site B of Sungai Buloh, the leprosy center. We chose this site due to the scenic views and the site's close proximity to the main road, making it easily accessible and much more visually open to the public's view. The site's strength is that it is almost aligned to the north point, which means that surrounding existing buildings that are longitudinal to the east-west axis are less prone to sun exposure. Though the site itself in general is a relatively open area, hence more prone to sun and rain, causing the site to reach extreme temperatures easily. This also factors into our design consideration, favoring a design that is aligned to the east-west axis, which requires less shading mechanisms. Here are some pictures to show shadow levels and patterns within the site. As you can see that the site mostly consists of wide open areas, and where there are canopies such as trees, the shadows are confined only to the object and does not provide shading over others. Strength. Being in an equatorial climate, the site receives sufficient sun and rain. Though during rainy seasons such as the monsoon, the areas are prone to water retention and surface runoffs, in addition to the poor drainage systems. Being in a mostly sunny weather, there is potential for solar panel applications. Aside from that, the site is likely prone to floods due to the poor drainage systems. The following pictures are taken during heavy rain. As you can see, there are major water retention and surface runoffs. Though that our site is a low-lying area surrounded by hillsides, but due to the roads are generally higher on the ground level, the roads aren't affected as much during heavy rain. But due to the site being in a low-lying area, slopes cause runoffs to take place easily. Mass depressions on land promotes water retention as well. With that said, being on a relatively flat ground makes it easier to build on, and having higher surrounding grounds offer better visibility into the site. Strength. A strong and intuitive sense of direction. Most drivers felt the natural tendency to drive straight towards the proposed site, even without the help of signs. The primary circulation within the site takes place on a narrow road, and with the absence of signs or indicators, that makes it for drivers, especially not local to the site, get confused. Signage or indicators can help facilitate traffic flow within the site. Due to the narrow roads, they cannot accommodate heavy traffic as it is difficult to maneuver multiple vehicles simultaneously. The smaller routes within the site seemingly to continue branch as drivers travel further in. This has proven to be disorienting. The first picture, top left, is an example of a divergence of a route to multiple routes. Lack of signage result to visitors to continue wander forward. The last picture, bottom right, however, is a view of a road directly to the site. Use the existing vehicular circulation, hence no need for the addition of a pedestrian path, considering that the surrounding existing buildings are within walking distance, making a dedicated pathway redundant to an extent. The lack of a proper pedestrian pathway due to the pedestrian using vehicular circulation as their walkway, it is considered to be a safety hazard and an inconvenience for both drivers and pedestrians. Dedicated pathwalk will improve walking experience to and from the site, and for those that prefer walking, a dedicated walkway can act as a guide within the site. Due to the site being particularly hidden from the main road, any pedestrian walkways or stops will not be easily accessible to public transport.
Surrounding existing buildings from the site varies in terms of their function. Starting from the proposed site itself, Site B currently functions as a commercial area where you can find a convenience store, a restaurant, a fertilizer store, and a storage space. Highlighted in pink is the community hall, or the Valley of Hope Gallery. The building acts as a central point of gathering, especially for visitors who are not local to the site. Towards the east, highlighted in orange, there are research units and wards dedicated to leprosy patients, and as well as animals for research and testing purposes. Beyond that, highlighted in blue, there is a university campus alongside with their own residential buildings. Floral paths, highlighted in purple, are located on the west side, where botanical gardens are located for display and commercial purposes. North to the site, there is a kindergarten, highlighted in green, where local young children that has leprosy can continue to further their primary studies. And further up, highlighted in yellow, you can find some of the abandoned nurseries that used to be accommodated by leprosy patients, but now are repurposed as plantations. Here are some of the views within and around the site, which includes a gospel hall found within the site and a temple upon exiting towards the main road further east. As mentioned before, a lot of the spaces within the surrounding site are now used for plantations, mainly for commercial uses. The land has been repurposed for agricultural use as opposed to being left unused. There are existing tall trees that provide shading in the area, and greeneries have proven to not only beautify the site, but to also provide visual comfort for both locals and visitors. On the other hand, there are a lot of unmanaged overgrowth of wild vegetation, especially around the abandoned nurseries. In turn, the overgrowth has obscured potential scenic views around the site. Clearing up the overgrowth and through regular maintenance of the site offer better improvement to the general look of the area. This, in turn, would open up for potential scenic views and land space. Aside from obstructing views to and from the site, overgrowth may inflict damage to the existing abandoned buildings, and further repair may be required. Here are some of the examples of the overgrowth that has taken over walk paths and abandoned buildings, and others are the gardens nearby the site. Users, especially non-local visitors, will be able to locate themselves on site through visual landmarks in the surroundings. Being in a generally low-lying area, scenic views of the hills are viable in almost every direction. But the main flaw that most visitors encounter is that a lot of the views are obscured by the aforementioned overgrowth of wild vegetation. Views towards the abandoned nurseries are not only scenic, but can reflect the current use of the land, hence informative. And with that, we have concluded that taller structures are at an advantage in terms of providing the desired views, overlooking the general area surrounding the proposed site. The first three pictures are views looking into the site, starting from the main road as we approach the community hall, and the proposed site behind it. The next two pictures are views of the proposed site from within and further away, from on top of a nearby hill south of the site. It is a generally quiet and peaceful area that isn't prone to noise pollution, as most noises are sourced from the community hall and shop lots. Though the area can seem a little dull at times due to the lack of activity. From here we can present the opportunity to liven the area up by integrating a public function space. Here are the views of the area where most noises are sourced from, excluding the main road. The area is culturally rich, judging by the existing religious landmarks such as the Gospel Hall and temples surrounding the site. With that said, the culture is perhaps specific to the leprosy patients in order to cater to their cultural preferences. Due to being mostly isolated from urbanization, the lifestyle and technology within the area are somewhat outdated. And for that same reason, a gap exists between the social norms of the community inside the leprosy center from the outside. Because of the way of life within the area, in consequence, they strongly represent and preserve the spirit of place. Making it culturally unique, it is as if the area is frozen in the past. Due to the change in demands, a lot of the buildings have since been abandoned and renovations ensue. Over time, this may result to the disappearing of the culture of the leprosy center. Here are the pictures of the Gospel Hall within the site, the Hindu temple along the main road, and the Buddhist temple west of the site. Hence concludes our site analysis for Sungai Buloh Site B. Thank you for listening.